Michael Ma is the second Conservative MP to cross the floor in recent weeks, with Nova Scotia-based MP Chris d'Entremont joining the Liberals back in early November. Let's bring in political analyst Lydia Miljan. Lydia, welcome. Parliament has now risen for the holidays, but let's look back at the past couple of weeks. We've now seen two Conservative MPs cross the floor to the Liberals. What do you think this signals about what will happen when MPs return?
Well, I think it's going to be very contentious when they return in 6 weeks. I mean, perhaps the tempers will ease a bit. But obviously, the Carney government's really now focused on trying to get a majority government, whichever way they can. And they're trying to also cause a lot of political damage to Pierre Poilievre, which I think is quite interesting, given that Poilievre is going to be facing a leadership review in January. So it sounds like the Liberals don't want Pierre Poilievre to be the person that they fight in the next election, which is an interesting conundrum, because, you know, they should sort of learn the lessons of the Conservatives, that if you get rid of the person that isn't the most popular, you might end up with somebody who actually is more competitive. So it's a interesting gambit on the part of the Liberals right now.
Let's talk about the budget. Where do things stand with that right now?
Well, I don't think they've completely passed all the different budget estimates, so they still need those votes. And they've also irked some of the people that either abstained or voted for them. Elizabeth May has been quite vocal in her being upset with the memorandum of understanding with Alberta. She really thinks that doesn't show the commitment to climate that she thought she was getting from the Carney government. And there's also the fact that you have people like Guilbeault who left cabinet, and there's some uncertainty in the Liberal ranks as well. Chrystia Freeland is probably going to have to resign as well at some point, given that she's going to be moving to London, England, to head the Roads Trust. So it's not as if everything is quite as rosy within the Liberal ranks as we might be led to believe.
Let's talk about what happens in the new year. Of course, we know that Pierre Poilievre will be going into a leadership review in January. What can we expect from the Conservatives at that point in 2026?
Well, I think there's going to be some frank discussion. You know, how did that election campaign turn out the way it did? They, really thought not only were they projecting a majority, but a supermajority by some pollsters' calculations. So they do have a lot of soul searching to do about, what is it that they couldn't convince the majority of Canadians to vote with them. And they also have to think about down the road. How many years does Poilievre have a best before date? I mean, he still is really popular within Conservative circles. And so the question then is, how can he change his image or change their approach so that they aren't seen as so-called too negative? Because essentially that's what people have been saying, that the Conservatives are too negative, and the Liberals have been very effective in, labeling them as obstructionists, just making it sound like it's up to them to make Parliament work. Actually, it's up to the government to make Parliament work. They're the ones that need to be negotiating with the other parties to get their work passed. And so, the point of Canadian democracy is we have government and we have the loyal opposition, and opposition is what they do. So it is a bit frustrating, I'm sure, for Conservatives who voted for the party. Obviously, they didn't get into power, but for these floor crossers to now say, I don't want to have the job that was given to me, well, that is the nature of Parliament. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
All right, Lydia, that's our time. Thank you very much for this. That is Lydia Miljan, a political analyst.